Arched bookshelves are incredibly classic, but they're also having a moment right now. This creative DIY will help you transform basic bookshelves into custom-looking arched built-ins. I worked on this project with Tim, the homeowner from the Family Fun Room episode of The Weekender, to show him how to do it. We started with 3 basic bookshelves from Lowe's, each 3 feet wide by 6 feet tall. The plan was to use the bookshelves as a foundation and encase them for that built-in look, complete with arches on the top. This is an easy and less expensive way to get a high-end look without having to hire a custom carpenter. I want to measure the area we're working with. I want to make sure that the center of my bookshelf is on the center of the wall, and then we'll kind of do everything out from there. The measurements we need are the total width of the space. That will help us determine the spacing between the bookshelves. We also need the height from the top of the bookshelves to the ceiling, in this case the soffit, and the width of the bookshelves. That will determine the size of our arches. We'll also need the depth of the bookshelves off the wall. Okay, so I have all of our measurements. I find it super helpful to make a cut list. This cut list basically tells us the material, the length, and how many we need. We're gonna be cutting a variety of different things using the miter saw and then also a jigsaw. So we're gonna be cutting 1x8s, some 2x4s, and then we're gonna also be cutting plywood, and that's gonna be for the arches, kind of the facing pieces or plywood. But everything that's hidden behind the plywood is gonna be 1x and 2x4s. We need some at 90, we need some at 40, we need some at 18. So we'll put this on top of the sawhorses. The plywood is gonna be basically the face and our arches. So in between the areas we'll case out with the plywood. First thing we'll do is trace out our arches. We're gonna use a little trick that I like. Basically use a scrap piece of wood that we'll screw in and I make a little pencil hole. It works as a little smooth hinge. And to determine where to put my pencil and how big to make it, the bookshelves are 34 inches wide, so half of that is 17. That will give us the perfect arch that gives us a total of 34. Cool. So the way to do it, measure your bookshelf, divide it by 2, and that's how you get your arch length. And get our perfect arch.
Wow.
Pretty easy, right?
Yeah, that was really great.
To cut the arch shape, we're gonna use a jigsaw. We have our arches nicely cut, and now this line across the top, we're gonna use a circular saw to cut that straight line because this is where it will hit the ceiling. Stand this up. So this is going to be the face of the bookshelves. These are 2 of our arches. We'll cut 1 more, and then this will be attached onto the 2x4s and the 1x8s that are kind of the skeleton.
Okay.
And I know right now it's a little bit jagged. We'll take a sander to that. It'll smooth everything out. It looks super perfect. These are the pieces, like I said, that go in between. They should be snug to the ceiling. I'm gonna clamp this together. In order to not crack the existing bookshelf wood, we're gonna pre-drill a bit. That way we have a nice pilot hole there so we don't crack the wood. These are doing double duty for us. Basically, it's giving us the spacing and kind of making this seem chunkier, but also it's gonna help give us stability up here. So we have them going all the way into the soffit. To add stability, we're attaching the 2x4s into the soffit to create a frame around the perimeter. This will be hidden as we'll use it to attach the plywood facing for the front and side pieces. You wanna make sure that you are going into studs, whether it's studs in a soffit like we have, or you're going directly into your ceiling. So now we basically have our skeleton of the built-ins up here. We have our ledger giving us support. We have our vertical pieces. So now what we can do is bring in the plywood arches that we cut and start attaching those directly onto the ledger and to the 1x. Once we got our arches up, we were in the home stretch. We added some trim molding to finish off the edges, caulked any seams, filled holes, and gave the whole thing a coat of deep green paint. Another thing that I love about this project is if you were to hire someone to come in and build you custom built-ins, it would take way longer than a weekend and also be so much more expensive. These arched bookshelves look amazing, and you'd never know that they started out as just simple bookshelves. Hopefully this project inspires you to think about adding some built-ins in your own home. If you have any questions, drop them below, and make sure you subscribe to the Lowe's YouTube channel.